welcome. My name is Chris, aka RoboPack92, and you are watching the Shared Screens podcast, the one and only show right here. Or is it Media Club? I don't remember. Either way, we're here to talk about some of our favorite stuff today. It's, you know what, we have so many shows. Sometimes I just go, we'll hit record and I'll figure out what show we're doing in the middle of it. Joining me today, fresh from a haircut, it's going to make his Super Saiyan form look real weird. It's Alec Bobko.
Heyo.
Do you think you would, if you were to go Super Saiyan right now, would you grow more hair or would just that turn yellow?
Oh, more hair for sure. Like
for sure, like the Super Saiyan 3.
It always goes more hair. Like when I go to is like Super Trunks to Super Saiyan Trunks. Like, you know how he has like the long like purple hair and then it just goes poof.
That's a good point. Or also from the Cell Saga, Gohan, right? Really short hair and then like really long hair. Yeah. I love that that's just the mark of going Super Saiyan. It's like the more hair you have, the more powerful it is. And that always just cracks me up so much.
What's hilarious, just a quick side tangent, is I was watching, I have a Dropout subscription where they have one of the shows on there, Game Changer.
I think I saw this clip you're talking about.
One of the guys on there, this basically the theme of the game at that point was create a visual effect. So they would basically just describe it, and then the editors, animators, whatever, in post would add it all in. And I think at that point, at some point in the clip, he even said that, the more hair, the more powerful you are. So just hair grows everywhere. And
I love that he steps up. He's like, "I'll take this one. I want to fulfill a childhood dream." He's like, "I'm going to go Super Saiyan right now." And I'm like, 100%. I've always wanted to do it. And then he fires a Kamehameha. I'm like, no, I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So if you haven't caught on today, we will be talking about our favorite, just kind of everything about Dragon Ball Z. Unfortunately,
Dragon Ball
is almost 2 weeks ago now, right? A week or two at this point that the world was notified of the unfortunate loss of Akira Toriyama, and in the wake of that, though, there has been this really, really lovely outpouring of love and appreciation for Toriyama's work. And so we initially weren't going to do anything, just with stuff going on outside of the podcast.
Timing.
And we're busy, we're all adults, we have jobs, and there's all these other things. And we had some time today, and we figured, well, why not do that? Let's talk about our favorite Dragon Ball things, and just kind of appreciate the work of Toriyama and how much it has like how significant it's been in our lives, and just kind of vibe with that for a minute. I did kind of want to start out, though, just kind of talking about how surprisingly like emotionally affected I was by the loss of Toriyama. It's like I read that thing because it came through. It like the news hit the States at like 10 p.m. on like a Wednesday night. You know what I mean? Like it was late, and I assume it's because it was breaking in Japan like in the morning, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember, like, I think I had, like, just gone to sleep as it was, like, breaking, or, like, just, like, put my phone down for the night, so I didn't see it till, like, first thing that next morning. It's, like, that was just so crushing just to wake up to that news.
Yeah, I was sitting on my couch, I was doing my thing where I just have some stupid sitcom on TV, and I'm either, like, reading a book or playing something on my Steam Deck, and I saw it come up, and I just kind of sat there for a second. I was just like, oh my God. Yeah, and as we'll get into, I mean, Toriyama's works have been so influential to us in a big way, but there was still something about seeing that and having that reflection and being like, wow, it really has been such a prevalent thing in my life for so much longer than I thought. It's like I didn't think about it. Dragon Ball was always there, and then
in life, but like just entertainment media. Like, and I can't remember if we talked about off content or it must have been off content, but there's a conversation we were having at some point where it's like how much of his work has influenced all of just entertainment, whether it be media, gaming. Like
that was the thing I reflected on the most, like the weekend after the news broke, where I sat there and I was like, it was just influence on a level I don't think we will ever see again in our lives. Like you sort of get the sorry for the weird break. I've got like a million things going through my head at this point. I do remember as a kid, right? It's almost hard to put into words. I think it should be noted that I mean, it is almost down to Toriyama and Dragon Ball essentially being responsible for bringing anime to the West.
Oh yeah,
right?
100%.
I think without Dragon Ball's popularity here, and I don't mean to gloss over Sailor Moon or anything. That those both of those hit the
Oh yeah.
states around the same time, and they were very popular. But we're talking about Toriyama today, so we're going to focus on Dragon Ball.
Yep.
But I mean, without Dragon Ball, like you wouldn't have Naruto, One Piece, like all the
Toonami wouldn't have been a
Bleach,
thing.
Jujutsu Kaisen, Toonami. Like none of that would have had the impact it had here. It's had here without Dragon Ball.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it's like being a kid in the '90s, a teenager in the early 2000s as
Oh yeah.
Toonami's taking off and that sort of thing. It was that weekend where I sat down and I was like, I don't think can even I don't know anybody who doesn't know what Dragon Ball is. At least is
Right. Yeah.
aware of it. You know, like if it's to
Like,
the point where my mom knows who Goku is, that's impact.
well, that and what was in the last like
Goku's in the
couple
fucking
years.
Macy's Day
Yes,
Thanksgiving
I was
parade.
just gonna bring that up. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he has his Super Saiyan Blue. Like it's not even his like iconic form, but just Goku with his new like hairdo is in the Macy's
It's
Day
the new
Parade.
one. Yeah, it's the current one that's going on right now. That's in the Thanksgiving Day parade. It's not even like the classic like Goku black hair. It's fucking Super Saiyan Blue from Dragon
Yeah,
Ball Super. You know,
yeah.
like that's insane. Um,
Hmm.
I got lucky enough to where like when Toonami was really popping off and it was starting to put eyes on all of these other shows because you had like Dragon Ball, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, Gundam, Prince of Tennis,
Hmm.
like all of these other shows kind of going on, and it was getting popular. Like Shonen Jump started getting to the West. I was living in San Antonio at the time, out in Texas, and I didn't want to talk about this without acknowledging the absolute chokehold that Dragon Ball had over Latin America in particular. Which I find really
Hmm.
fascinating, and so I spent some time looking into this. And Dragon Ball actually premiered in like Mexico and Latin America first, prior to hitting the states.
Oh,
As essentially as a test market for Japan, is they were basically seeing it's like, well, if this audience is like it, we'll expand more.
mhm.
We'll take it to the states, we'll take it to Europe, and take it to these other places, and it became so huge there that they were like, okay, hit the states, and then it became what it
It
is
blew
today.
up and worldwide phenomenon.
And because they essentially had it first, what was so funny is that you can talk to a lot of people that kind of lived in the South in any like Mexico bordering states.
Hmm.
There was this phenomenon, right, of like everybody knew like that one guy who had a cousin that lived in Mexico who would tell you about what's happening this series because they got it first, and so they had a forward look. And so like the Frieza saga is happening in the states while Cell saga is almost done in Mexico. You know what I mean? And they're like, just
Oh,
you wait. It's
gotcha.
like, yo, after this happens, like just wait,
Right,
and
right.
all your friends will be like, bullshit, that is or like whatever,
Hmm.
and then it turned out to be true, and he's like, oh man, like it's like everybody knew that one kid, and I saw a bunch of people talking about like a very similar situation that they all had
Hmm.
growing up, and I was like, that's really funny that's such a unilateral thing for so many people. I thought
Right.
that was always really fun. There is also this other phenomenon too, really related to that I was interesting, which um, is you get a lot of like local mom and pop like shops or like taco stands and all of these sorts of things in Mexico and Mexico bordering states, where sometimes they just paint Goku on their restaurants or their food trucks or those sorts of things, right? And what's so funny is I think without fail, if you ever see somebody like a restaurant that has like a bunch of anime characters in like Goku or Gohan or something in particular, you're about to get the best fucking food you've ever
Oh
had in
yeah.
your life, dude. We
Oh
had
yeah.
this little tacos shack, and when I say shack, I mean the whole place was probably about the size of the room I'm sitting in, right?
Oh
It was a
jeez.
shack you couldn't walk in. It only had a drive through,
Right.
and inside was just a building with a kitchen in it, and that was it. That was it, and a menu outside, and they had uh like pictures of like movie stars and all these things, and then also
Mhm.
Goku, which
That's
I thought was
awesome.
so fucking funny. And let me tell you, man, the burritos he got there, unbelievable, dude. I think about this steak taco I used to get from there all the time. It doesn't exist anymore. I've tried to find the place, like when I've gone back and visited. I even went and like
Mhm.
was doing like fucking like Street View on Google Maps trying to find it. It's gone now, unfortunately, but it was
Mm.
unbelievable. Man, it was so good. Um, but yeah, I thought today we kind of sit down and talk our favorite like Dragon Ball media, some particular memories you have in that sort of thing, and the kind of the first thing that I wanted to do, because this was my primary way of sort of engaging with the Dragon Ball world,
I'll say
was
real quick before we
yeah.
move on to that, the actual memories just about Toriyama himself. Like, I know you and I kind of we're talking before we started recording how like celebrity deaths don't necessarily like, I know you mentioned it, but that's all. I'm also the
Mhm.
same way with celebrity deaths don't necessarily like, affect me all that much. But it's like it's the big ones. Like for me, like I remember one of the biggest ones was Kobe. Uh,
Yeah.
the news with him, like, and it's like I wasn't the biggest Kobe fan, but it's just one of those like just how out of the blue it was, kind of a thing. And same with Toriyama. Like I said, woke up, that morning, and it's just like, oh, geez, like a piece of my childhood, a piece of like who I am died
It
today.
had the same emotional impact on me that only the death of Robin Williams had on me. You
Oh
know
yeah,
what I
that was
mean?
another big one for me. Yeah,
Just kind of the point where it's like I kind of sat down and I was like, yeah, it's like I've lost something that was almost just a part of such formative parts of my life. You know,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, like similar to yeah, it's like I spent being it was the first time in a long time that it felt nice to be on Twitter was
Mm-hmm.
the weekend that we lost Toriyama, and that's a weird sentence to say, but like it
Right.
was. I haven't seen just like a coming together of people on the internet since like the fucking release of
Yeah,
Pokemon Go, like back in
yeah.
in 2016. You know what I mean? Like even the fucking I don't know if you heard about this. The Mexican cartels ordered a ceasefire that weekend. Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's how fucking respected Toriyama was. Even the cartels were like, "No, we ain't doing nothing. We ain't doing nothing this weekend. It's like we're all gonna go home and watch Dragon Ball." I was like, "What the fuck?"
Okay.
Incredible. Literally caused peace
That's
for a brief amount of
insane.
time.
Insane.
And like seeing so many people's just like art tributes, I think was kind of my favorite thing to see. Like
Yeah.
so many artists came out and putting out stuff. It's and I find myself like tearing up. Like somebody just posted like the raw footage of Goku seeing his grandfather again from the original Dragon Ball series, and I was
Yeah.
that was when I was finally I like tears in my eyes. I was just like, oh my gosh, like this one hurts, man. Like that one hurt.
Or are people like posting like just like some of the best quotes of the series,
Oh yeah.
like people are posting like Vegeta's when it his sacrifice, like that whole
Mm.
speech. And there's a TikTok person that I always I don't honestly follow him, but he pops up on my For You page quite a bit, where he does like all the good speeches and all that. And he just did one with like 4 of Vegeta's best speeches. That's like
Oh,
so good.
the
So
one
good.
the one that got me was and I apologize because I can't remember her name. Because I do watch Dragon Ball dubbed like a filthy American, but
Same.
because I love it. But the Japanese voice actress for Goku
Mhm.
posted some of her own thoughts, and she said that she just kept thinking about one of the first things that Toriyama said when she got the role was "You'll take care of Goku, won't you?" And I was just sitting there, I was like, "Oh my god."
Mhm.
Or the creators for Naruto and One Piece also talking about how like they met Toriyama like as
Yeah.
kids, you know,
Yeah. How much of an influence he was on them.
and then grew up to be his coworker,
Yeah.
and how crazy that was for them. And Ichiro Oda in particular talked about like meeting him as a teenager and like meeting
Mhm.
Toriyama being the thing that wanted him to become a mangaka, and then that created One Piece, and I was like influence on a different level,
Oh yeah.
on a different
Well,
level.
even we got some community write-ins we're going to share later in the podcast, but I believe it was Carlos where he said that even influenced or inspired the creator of Final Fantasy,
Yeah, through Dragon Quest.
which blew my mind. I did not know that.
Not just Final Fantasy is like Dragon Quest, which Toriyama was a part of because he's the character designer
Right.
for those games. Dragon Quest essentially created the JRPG genre. It was the first,
Yeah.
and so it created the uh essentially like the structure that all games went through. But in particular, yeah, it was the guys that made Final Fantasy that saw Dragon Quest and said we can do that. Yeah, basically, it was
Yeah.
how it goes. And so Final
And it's
Fantasy is
like,
because of Dragon Quest, which is because of Toriyama.
which is just insane. Like when we were saying earlier that this man's influence, like things would not be the same today without him. We like that's how wide of a like influence Toriyama
Different
had.
level, dude. And like somebody even posted just like here's a handful of references in all kinds of other shows of that
Yep.
are references to Dragon Ball, and I mean it's an unbelievable amount. You had a regular show, Fairly Odd Parents. Like I just
Mhm.
literally too many to list that have like
Yep.
direct references and callbacks to Dragon Ball and the other various works of Toriyama. Like, I mean, it's there's a reason that you have series like One Piece and Naruto that have like these like form changes and power ups and stuff, and because Dragon Ball's the blueprint, you know,
Yeah.
like it's like everyone wants their own Super Saiyan, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I love it. I mean, it created like the genre of shonen fighting anime, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's influence on a different level, like that I don't think we will ever see again.
No.
uh
And as somebody that's recently started going back and started a rewatch of Dragon Ball Z Kai, I would have watched the original Dragon Ball Z, but Hulu only has Kai.
and who has that kind of time?
I mean, true, but,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's honestly like it was a little jarring at first, just because the Kai theme is like all HD and like nice looking.
Yeah.
But then like the show is still like the old animation.
Except for parts where they touched
jarring.
it up and you see the jump and you go, oh, that's new. Like it's not obvious.
Yeah.
Or it's not subtle.
Right. But like honestly watching it, I'm only a few episodes in, but it's one of those things that style, it still holds up.
Oh yeah. It's classic for a reason, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was kind of the blueprint for sort of like everything else that came out at the time. Like you look at like other things from that era, like Sailor Moon and Yu Yu Hakusho and those sorts of things, and you go, oh yeah, it's unbelievable how very clearly like Dragon Ball influenced it is. Like it's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
I love it though. I mean, it's great. There is something about like 90s anime in particular that just kind of has like a vibe to it that
Yep.
that's just, you know what I mean? Just one of my favorite things to come out of that weekend too, like I said, was also seeing so many within the gaming space. You had like a bunch of like Twitch streamers or YouTubers and stuff being like, okay, this weekend we're playing a Dragon Ball game. You know,
Yep.
like the day after Toriyama passed, I just sat down and watched like Blessing Jr. on Twitch sit down and just played Budokai Tenkaichi 3 for a bit.
Nice.
And, like I myself, I went and reinstalled Dragon Ball Kakarot and played through some of that.
Oh,
like,
same.
Like for a bit, you know.
Yeah. I was, because at the time I think I was playing through Rebirth for our review, so go check that out if you haven't seen it. But after I beat that, I was kind of open world gamed out. So even though Kakarot is an open world game, I just mainlined it.
Oh yeah, it's really easy too.
Funny story. So back when I had a PS4, it was mostly for single players, but like there's like like Game Shark, Action Replay, those kind of things.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's one that you could get for the PS4 for like single player games called like Save Wizard Max something or other.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Basically, it's just a save editor, and I forgot that I used that on Kakarot, and then I open it up and it's just like 99999 of like everything, like basically just maxed it out. So that way I didn't, because
I might have to find that. You know what I mean? I might have to go look for that.
I think the part of the reason why I used it on Kakarot is I just don't like grinding in games if I don't have to, especially like single player games.
It does one of my least favorite things about modern open world games, which it like level gates you behind behind mainline missions to where if you're not a certain level you can't access certain things, and I'm like, don't make me go play side stuff I'm not interested in playing.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I did that for that game, and because it's that save was it only works on single player stuff, so that's why it's like I don't feel bad about it.
No.
But it basically just eliminates the need to grind, and I can just play through the game. And so,
especially because the combat in Kakarot is so good, I don't want to do anything else.
It really is. You know? So it's to the point where I went to try and go back to Tenkaichi 3.
It's rough, man.
It was granted. It was also like 11 o'clock at night, and I had like just try to boot it up and like, oh yeah, I'll remember the control will come back to me. But because I had been playing so much of Kakarot, I was using those controls and my brain was just not correlating them together, and I got my ass beat.
That's so funny. I went the opposite direction to where I already had Tenkaichi 3 like a ROM on my Steam Deck, like ready to go. And I was just like, I haven't played this in forever, I'm going to put this there. And then all that happened. I was like, cool, I'm glad I have this already. And so I pulled it up and I was like, I did the same thing. I was like, this will come back to me. It never came back to me. And so then I loaded up Kakarot instead. I was like, I'm gonna play this one. But Tenkaichi 3 was my first choice. Um, I did also, I did, I at least like pulled out my original copy. I had the original Budokai on GameCube as well, and so I pulled that out and just kind of looked at the box for a minute. I don't have a CRT to plug my GameCube into.
Yep.
I was gonna download that one as well. Maybe I'll get around to that this weekend or something. Because like I know everyone loves the Tenkaichi series, and I'm very excited about Sparking Zero as well. We are recording this on the day where they just did the gameplay showcase for Sparking Zero, and it looks unbelievable. If you'd shown like 10-year-old me that, I would have cried probably. Like
the thing didn't have to do much, but like just the subtle like camera movements to make it more dynamic.
Oh, it looks so good. And then so good. They did my favorite thing that any fighting style game can do, even like 3D arena fighters, which aren't my favorite genre of game outside of the Dragon Ball series, because Dragon Ball is the only one that does them well. Yep. Was like, hey, we added more movement stuff, and I went, oh yeah, movement.
Outside of the instant transmission, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the thing. They said that they increased the base speed in the game to be like the dash speed from Tenkaichi 3. And then you can press like X or whatever, and you do like a short dash, and you could do like multiple of them. And I was just like, woo! I was like, whoa, let's go! And then like they're showing off like Goku versus Vegeta, and they're taking battle damage. Goku's gi's getting ripped off, and Vegeta's Saiyan armor comes off, and I was just like, this is everything I could have asked for from a Dragon Ball game. This looks so sick.
And it just looks good too. Like,
it's gorgeous.
Just speaking of just games with the looks and all that too, it's like one of the other games that I do have a fond memory of is Ultimate Tenkaichi for the PS3. Wow,
I forgot about the Ultimate series.
Gameplay not great.
Yeah,
but the reason why everybody had that was because they remastered, brought the anime up to HD.
Yep, that was the first like next gen one for like the 360 PS3 era was Ultimate Tenkaichi. Yeah,
and they basically remastered the anime, so like you would play through the story mode, and then you would get the anime cutscenes, but just HDified.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was so sick.
So yeah, there was a point where, because it came out when I was in college, and there's a point where I remember brought the game over to a friend's dorm room, and we just played all night and just played through the story, just basically going through Dragon Ball Z's story.
Yeah, man.
Passing the controller back and forth, having a great time.
You want to talk about favorite movies too? Especially around games. I got to shout out the original Budokai, because that was the first like Dragon Ball Z game that I played. A buddy of mine owned it on the GameCube before I had one. We'd go to his house, and I'd go to his house to spend the night, and we'd just be up all night playing that thing, man. Like original Budokai 2 only went up to the Cell Saga, right? Like Buu Saga was happening. I think it was like airing on Toonami at that point. So, but we didn't have any representation in that in games until Budokai 2 came out a couple years later. But yeah, playing that original Budokai game was so sick, because it was the first time I was, able to do a Kamehameha in a video game and that sort of thing. You got to build up enough ki before you can go Super Saiyan. The form changes in the game, and all that was so sick. I think my favorite gaming experience around like a Dragon Ball property, though, look, we've talked a bunch about like 3D arena fighters, and like I'm not a huge fan of that genre outside of like a handful again of Dragon Ball ones, because they're the only ones who I think who do that genre well. But a few years back, a little company called Arc System Works said, hey, we're making a traditional 2D tag team fighter around Dragon Ball. And I went, I love fighting games. We're going to get an actual Dragon Ball fighting game for the first time ever. And it's a tag fighter. As a huge fan of the Marvel vs. Capcom series, I went, oh my God, that's perfect.
Their art style.
I mean, that first trailer hit, and I remember just sitting for hours watching people do like frame by frame breakdowns of like how perfect they got it. To the point where it's the characters are even animated at the same frame rate that they are in the show. It's they're 24 frames per second. The characters are, but the game is 60 frames. I mean, it's unbelievable technology, right? Like what they did. I had never seen anything like that before. And then it came out, and it ended up being one of the most fun fighting games I've still ever played to this day. And I mean, it's also just now kind of thinking about it, one of the first times that I'd seen like an attempt at kind of not simplifying fighting games, but making them a little more accessible for newcomers. In that every character has 3 like auto combos. You have a medium, a light, medium, and heavy. So if you press one of those 3 buttons, if you just mash those buttons, you do a full combo.
Nice.
And then all special and super attacks are all just quarter circle buttons. You know what I mean? So if you can do it,
nice.
if you can do a Hadoken, you can do a Kamehameha, you can do a level 1, 2, or 3 super. Like that's all it requires. There's no other motions. There's no Dragon Punch motion. There's no 360s. It's just quarter circles, which is really, really nice. And then it's flashy as hell. It's relatively balanced. Every fighting game comes out and it's like, oh, these are the good characters. They did a really good job of that. But that was also at a point in my life where it's, I was living with my roommate and he's also a huge fighting game guy. And that was part of what we did was just new fighting game would come out. We'd sit down, we'd play those games. Usually it would last for like a month or 2 and then we'd kind of move on. He and I played Dragon Ball FighterZ, I think, for 2 years straight. I mean, it was just what we did. We were watching tournaments, we were playing games. It was just that's probably my favorite Dragon Ball game that's ever been made is Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, for me, one of the first is kind of going on another Dragon Ball gaming memory of mine. The first one I remember. First actual Dragon Ball game I remember playing was Budokai Tenkaichi 2. For the Wii specifically.
Oh, because, is that the one where you can...
Yes.
Yeah!
But the cool thing was, because this was back still when Blockbuster was a thing, and if you get the chance, I'll try and make a time code to bring it up, but if you look up the cover specifically for the Wii, because it is just the sickest thing ever, where it's just a black background, it's Super Saiyan Trunks, and he's holding out a sword that has a bunch of the other Saiyans on it. And it was just one of those.
I remember that one. That one was so cool.
That cover was exclusive to the Wii version, and it was just the sickest thing ever.
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure that cover, because when I remember I looked up the cover and it gave me something else, so that's why I specifically had to look up the Wii cover.
That's so sick.
And it is just the coolest thing ever. And it was one of those games that I rented from Blockbuster so much that I remember at one point my dad just got it for me for like a gift at some point, just like a present, just like, hey, so we don't have to keep renting this. Here you go.
I do want to move on to some of our write-in memories as well, because we did have some friends.
Yes, I mean, touch on the show.
It's I'm getting there in a second. Maybe does it really need us to talk about the show? I feel like everyone knows. You know what I mean? Right. Like we can. I've got something for that. We'll get through it real quick. But I did also want to shout out a couple other like kind of overlooked games. I think that never get brought up in these conversations. One of them is Legacy of Goku 2 on the Game Boy Advance.
Yes, I've heard good things. Haven't I got a chance to play that one?
It's a Zelda style like top down beat 'em up kind of game. That walks you through the entire Android and Cell saga in particular. It uses the actual like Bruce Falconer soundtrack.
Saga.
It's fighting words. Frieza Saga for life, baby. Frieza Saga for life, baby. Although I do love Trunks. It's hard not to love Trunks. And Vegeta goes Super Saiyan. You might be right. You might be right. It's a great game though. It holds up really, really well. I actually played it on my Steam Deck not too long ago, and you get the actual like OG like Bruce Falconer soundtrack in like chiptune form, which is really, really fun. And it's just you get to relive like a condensed version of the Cell Saga, and that's really fun. I also want to shout out a DS game, Attack of the Saiyans. Which
the name sounds familiar.
Which it goes through it's the Saiyan saga. So it ends with, or it starts right after Raditz dies and ends with them like leaving to go to Namek.
Okay.
And it's a turn-based RPG.
Interesting.
And it's fucking phenomenal. Like it's genuinely so good. So good. If finding a DS emulator that works these days is really hard, and I also don't recommend that because Nintendo loves to kill everyone's fun. But if you can find a way to play Attack of the Saints, please don't sleep on that one. Let's talk about the show and movies.
I do just want to shout out. It's the mobile game that I mentioned in our podcast way back when we talked about mobile games. It was Dokkan Battle, I believe it's called.
Oh yeah.
where the one it's just basically just a gotcha game where you got the characters and basically like it's about like matching the orbs to do more damage kind of a thing.
Cool.
But yeah, it was one of those I spent so much more money on that game because it's just the adrenaline high of getting certain characters and all that. And I believe it was Super Vegito that was just absolutely broken in that game.
My boy.
Because he had just some ability that he had. I can't remember. It's been years since I played that game.
My boy.
He just had a broken ability where basically he could like counterattack.
Oh, hell yeah.
And you had him at a high enough level, he would just deal an insane amount of damage. So he would attack, then they would attack you, then they would counterattack. It's like, it was just insane.
Is Dokkan Battle still going?
I believe so. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Interesting. I'll check it out. Yeah,
it's a very big gotcha game, so
it's fair. I play Galaxy Heroes. I'm not unfamiliar with that.
You'll be fine then.
Let's spend a couple minutes talking about the show and movie and stuff. I don't think it's something that nobody's unaware of. Like you don't need us to tell you, hey, this Dragon Ball show pretty good. But just kind of some
memories that we have,
favorite memories going over that.
I guess while you're thinking of like one that easily jumps to the start of my head is so being a dumb kid at the time, this is back in like the 90s, early 2000s. It was the Cell Saga was going on, and I remember I had just being a dumb kid. It's like I wanted to, I got a disposable camera and started taking pictures of the Cell Saga on the TV because I was watching on my TV, and the pictures did not turn out great because.
Taking photos of a CRT television. Yep.
Exactly. So you had big old black strips. Yeah, but it was just one of those, like, I did get one decent photo. I remember you don't have it obviously anymore, but
it
was just the coolest thing of like, it was like, I'm pretty sure it was of, it was just Cell and then Super Saiyan 2 Gohan standing there. It was the coolest thing.
I have a distinct memory of me and my friends back in like the 5th grade, all just kind of on the playground at recess together, all like screaming, attempting to go Super Saiyan ourselves, Super Saiyan. And our teachers being like, "Shut up! Why are y'all yelling over there?" We're like Kamehamehaing each other, going like
trying to send everybody your energy,
as kids do. Yeah, I'm summoning a spirit bomb. Just dumb things like that, right? I remember there's that episode where during the beginning of the Buu saga where Gohan is teaching Videl like how to like access her chi and just has her like try to like generate like a little glowing orb, and I fucking sat in my bedroom and tried to make that happen for myself for hours. I attempted to do that myself so many times. I was just like, come on, I can do it. I know it's possible. I want to do it.
It's cool. They actually briefly touch on that in the Buu saga in Kakarot, the game.
Yeah, that's right.
Very briefly, but they do.
I need to finish that game. It's really, really good. I also got to shout out too, just like more modern stuff, right? Like I can't remember.
Oh, I love.
The last time I was quite as hyped as hearing that Toriyama was coming back to make a new Dragon Ball show, and he's starting with a Dragon Ball Super Battle of Gods, and I'm like, new Dragon. Oh my God, he's coming back. He's out of retirement because Dragon Ball Legends was so bad. I don't know if you saw the actor that portrayed Goku in that awful movie, the day Toriyama passed, or that we learned Toriyama passed. Evolution. I'm sorry, not Legends. Dragon Ball Evolution. He posted after we learned that Toriyama passed. He's like, rest in peace, Toriyama. I'm sorry we messed up your adaptation so badly. I was like, that's really fucking funny. I saw that movie in theaters. I took my girlfriend to go see it. And we both walked out of there. We're like, what did we just watch, man? And like Brittany's not a huge Dragon Ball fan to begin with. And so she was like, that was as bad as I knew it was going to be. And I sat there, I was just crushed. I was like, I can't believe it was that bad.
Yep.
But on the other hand, we have good movies. And this same roommate that I would play Dragon Ball FighterZ with, we were like, yo, the new Dragon Ball movie is going to be in theaters. Let's go see it. And I went and saw Super Broly in a movie theater.
Yep.
And like, honestly, it was people in there, everyone was screaming and stuff was going on. I'm talking, it was like Avengers Infinity War level hype in here.
Seriously, like, I remember because I think ever since Battle of Gods, I've actually went and seen every movie in theaters
That's so
that they
cool.
released. And yeah, Resurrection F was the same way, hype as
Oh
hell.
yeah, Resurrection F was so good.
But yeah, I actually just in preparation for this podcast, I did rewatch the Super Broly movie a couple nights ago, and it is just so good.
Stellar. It's my favorite. It's my favorite Dragon Ball movie. It really is.
Although, as one thing I love about the movies, or on this topic, like I love how they each kind of focus on a couple characters. So like Super or Broly is it has Vegeta and Goku.
Yeah.
Whereas in the dumbest movie name ever, Dragon Ball Superheroes, amazing animation quality.
Very
honestly,
good.
Like, it's mind blowing. How
Very
good,
good. Especially when I'd heard that they were doing like a 3D movie, I was like, I don't know. And then I saw it in motion. I was like, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and that one focuses on Piccolo and Gohan,
and you get a lot of like original Dragon Ball love in that one too, which is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that movie is rad. I love superheroes.
Yep.
Like I thought that movie was sick as hell. I saw that one in theaters too. I saw those two. I didn't see Resurrection of the Battle of Gods though.
But Super, honestly, like that's one of those shows that I have kind of like distinct eras. Like obviously Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z as a kid. Then I remember I kind of got into Fairy Tail a little bit when I was in college, but didn't really get too much into other animes at the time. Just because mostly I was just using it for like background noise when I was working on projects and stuff like that. But then later I got into My Hero Academia, and that's kind of like the big thing that kind of pushed me through other animes. And then obviously around that same time, Dragon Ball Super kind of came back around. And just the Dragon Ball is just one of those things, like, just to kind of full circle before we wrap up, like just I've been around this my entire life, and do not sleep on Dragon Ball Super. Like that show is so good. The Tournament of Power honestly rivals some of the best arcs in Z.
And Super 2, I think is kind of like, and I don't mean this is in any sort of negative way, but it is very much, this is Toriyama unleashed. You know what I mean? And I think Super is so fun because it's a really good tonal mix of like the fight quality and sort of like seriousness that you get from Dragon Ball Z, and then also some goofy slice of life kind of stuff that you get more from the original Dragon Ball. I think it meshes both of those things really, really well together, that it is sort of the culmination of everything that came before. And it's got really like fun, like sometimes weird characters. You got like
the
really
ruler
silly
of
stuff
the
going
multiverse
on.
is like the little kid dude.
Yeah, right. You have about 80 different transformations that are all different colored hairs, and I love how ridiculous and over the top it is, and how willing it is to just be silly. It's just please don't sleep on Super. I do think it is kind of like the culmination of everything that came before. Everything was leading towards that. It's fabulous.
Just go. It's the multiverse thing, obviously, which is kind of overplayed.
Kind of did it first,
but honestly,
before it was cool.
Exactly.
before it was
Dragon
cool.
Ball doing Dragon Ball things,
Dragon Ball doing Dragon Ball things. Shout out to Kalen Cauliflower as well, just because love me some Broly. Got an alternate universe Broly. Let's go. Rad.
Yeah.
Loved that bit.
Yeah.
I just and it was crazy how big the Tournament of Power like popped up too. Like every time something insane would happen in the show, it'd be all over my Twitter for days. Like you have that point where you get Ultra Instinct Goku using his Kamehameha to slide up of Kefla's beam and then blast it in her face. I was just like, whoa! It's cool that so long after like Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super was still able to create those moments again, because by the time Super is out, all of these other things have come out that have been able to kind of build on top of the foundation that Z sort of built. And it was Toriyama proven I can still hang with the best of them, man. And he's like, y'all young bucks, sit down. I still got this in me.
And then just the craziest part of having Frieza be on their team.
Oh my gosh, the team up bit was one of the wildest things I've ever seen, man. Yeah. It's so good. Oh my gosh.
Minor spoiler, but yeah.
It's whatever.
If you haven't watched it by now, though, what are you doing watching this?
What are you doing, man? It doesn't take away from how rad it is when you see it in action. No. But I mean, it's I think it's very clear, like for me and you in particular, like how much Dragon Ball has meant to the both of us. Like when we say that it has been prevalent our entire lives.
We mean it.
We mean it. You know, it gets to hang alongside these other things that have been around for so long, like Star Wars and Pokemon and a lot of these other things
Mhm.
that we talk about here on shared screens all the time that are just kind of fundamental to who we are as people and
Yep.
our interests. And Dragon Ball, I think, is one of the biggest between you and I and Austin, who unfortunately couldn't make it, but he did want to give his love to Toriyama and did the Dragon Ball
Shout out
series
to
as well.
Raging Blast, because I know he loves those games.
He does love Raging Blast. Yeah. The first person I've ever heard say Raging Blast is one of my favorite games ever. I went,
Yeah.
really?
I liked him. I didn't, and you know what I mean? Like, it was just one of those, because it was a Dragon Ball game, so I played it.
Yeah, Dragon Ball is like his Dragon Ball was cool, but like over Budokai, whatever.
Exactly.
So whatever. But I did want to shout out Austin, but Austin is not the only one who wanted to share his love. We did reach out to our community within the Discord, and some of our friends and community members have sent us some of their like thoughts and memories on Dragon Ball as well. And Alec, I believe you have that pulled up if you'd like to share some of those.
Yeah. So first one we got on response on Twitter. Friend of the show, Ed.
Hey.
He says, "Man, I'll always cherish the night staying up until 4 a.m. with my cousin playing Tenkaichi. I didn't/still don't get how, or I didn't/still don't get to see him much, but he's still the closest thing to a big brother I've had.
Aww.
So our names are still Gohan and Vegeta in each other's phones. This is plus plenty more from the series itself. Just talking about memories."
That's so fun. And yeah, like even
Yeah.
just like skipping over like familiar things though too. I do remember the first time that my little brother stole my first issue of Dragon Ball Z, and like right there he's like 10 years old, like watching the very gruesome death of Goku and Raditz, and I was like, dude, you should have waited a couple years. And then I was like, but it's cool though, right? And he goes, it's so cool.
Yeah. Let's see. We got one from, gotta disable streamer mode real quick. Got someone from XO Crafty in the Discord.
Hey.
Saying Goku turning Super Saiyan for the first time and the battle between Goku and Majin Vegeta.
Oh, iconic moments.
Oh yeah.
Just in pop culture.
Oh,
Now I was like, not even within Dragon Ball, it's just within our culture.
Yeah, like there's a reason why one of Majin Vegeta's super moves in Tenkaichi is the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And it's like every time it even goes through the, like, not the entire quote, but like it goes through like Trunks, Bulma, even you, Kakarot.
Yep. I got goosebumps.
And then it said also just a fun time is Master Roshi around women getting punched every time.
Every time.
We got another friend of the show, Aaron Roots 427.
Hey.
Bit of a longer one, so bear with me.
Buckle in.
Says, I don't really vibe with anime, but I fucking love Dragon Ball. So I loved watching DBZ when I was a kid. When it was airing on Cartoon Network. Shout out to Toonami. He said, I never missed an episode. Awesome fight scenes, hilarious comedy, dudes turning into giant apes, objects that summon a dragon who will grant a wish, androids, superpowers, a dude from the future who used a sword. I was obsessed. I remember during an elementary school book fair, I begged my parents to get me a How to Draw Dragon Ball Z book.
Yes! Oh my gosh! I had one of those.
He even says, it's like, were you really a fan if you never tried to draw Goku? It's like, I mean, I tried. It was just like a stick person with crazy hair. But
oh, dude, that's 100% what I was doing when I should have been working on algebra. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I still had some of those.
Yeah, which, quick sidebar, I remember like that same week all this came out, so Andy Cortez, like, he tweeted out his like middle school drawings. It's like, dude, these are your middle school drawings?
I know, man. He's so good. And that like unlocked a memory in my brain where I was like, shit, I did that all the time. I tried to see if I had some like on some of my old like orchestra music or something. I don't have anymore, unfortunately, but that would have been really cool to find.
But continuing on, says, were you really a fan if you didn't almost pass out trying to turn Super Saiyan on the playground at school?
It's universal.
Exactly.
It's a universal experience.
Says, my family got rid of cable mid-Boo saga after Vegeta sacrificed himself. Says, I kind of fell off after that. Then a few years later, a high school friend of mine got me some bootleg copies of the Broly movies after hearing I hadn't seen them. And man, oh man, that was so sick. The first one has a fucking Pantera song in it.
Oh shit! Yeah, it does. I forgot about that.
It says, in the years since, I've popped in and out every once in a while, and every time I do, it's still going strong. That speaks volumes to everything Toriyama and his collaborators created. It continues to and will stand the test of time. I could go on, but I'll leave you with this quote from Goku during the original Dragon Ball show. It feels right after losing Toriyama. I never thought that life could be such a neat adventure.
Oh,
I don't really vibe with anime, but I fucking love Dragon Ball.
hell yeah, dude. And I do think that's kind of like one of the best places to sort of end on to where it's.
We do have one more, but yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
This is one from Carlos, aka Nerd Today.
Carlos.
He says, I've been thinking about this for a while. Dragon Ball in and of itself is a special show to me. Kid Goku's adventure and then what we got with Z was something many of us haven't seen before. The level of storytelling, the drama, the fights, for many of us, it introduced anime to us and to the Western world. For me, standout moments would be Goku seeing his grandpa Gohan for the first time since his accidental death. Gohan turning Super Saiyan 2 and the father/son blast. Amazing moment. Goku finally winning the tournament in OG Dragon Ball. And most recently, Gohan turning Super Saiyan Beast in Superhero, which I had no idea that was the name for that.
That is the name for it.
Awesome.
That is the name for it, which is a really dope name alongside Orange Piccolo, which I find every bit as funny.
Yep. And he just wraps up with also not to mention what he brought to the gaming space in Dragon Quest and Chrono Trigger. And Dragon Quest inspiring, I'm going to butcher this name, so sorry, but Hironobu Sakaguchi to make Final Fantasy.
You nailed it, by the way.
Ooh, thank you.
You nailed it. That's 100%. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't even bring up Chrono Trigger, considered one of the greatest video games of all time. I mean, it's just influence on a completely different level. And thank you guys so much for writing in and sharing this with us. We really, really appreciate that. And,
yes.
And it's crazy how much of a cultural icon that Goku in particular became, to where it's like we have this other version of what is essentially Superman, just kind of in the way of, well, also I've been Team Goku since the beginning. No shot is Goku losing a fight to Superman. I'm just putting that out there. But also they wouldn't fight, so but in addition to being like fabulous entertainment, like we got to hear all of these stories of how these people would sit down and watch the show together, share these things, play the video games for hours, and do all these sorts of things. And it created like this really lovely community, to where it's like, I mean, there have been plenty of times as like a kid or teenager, be like, you like Dragon Ball? You'd be like, yeah, I like Dragon Ball. And it's like instant friends, that's it. That sort of thing. And Goku, I think, will forever be one of those icons in pop culture that is just kind of that sort of, hey, you believe in yourself, you work hard enough, you get to do, like, you can achieve the things that you want, you can get through your life. He's got this aspirational thing to him, to where like he's the guy who gets excited the harder things get. And it's a mindset that I try to apply to my own life,
100%. Like, and this is something that, like, having just played through the Boo saga in Kakarot, like, there's that whole arc of, or not arc, but like the whole moment of Vegeta, like, basically talking to himself and like, or talking to him and Goku, and just being like, I don't know how you keep surpassing me. Like, it's like, Saiyans, they get, stronger the more angrier they get, kind of a thing. And he's just like, you don't fight to kill, you fight to get better and stronger.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just like, so it's one of those things, like, it's obviously not fighting, but just like the motivational thing of just not getting better to just like make more money, essentially, but getting better to better yourself,
to be better,
better.
And I mean, it's I used to have a tank that I would wear to the gym, right? Like training to beat Kakarot. It had a little thing of Vegeta on it, and that sort of thing. Like I had another like gym tank too that it was like working until my power level is over 9,000, like dumb stuff like that. But like as somebody who is trying to get back into fitness and those sorts of things again, like absolutely, I'm looking at Dragon Ball as like an inspiration for that, as something that's like that's the goal. That's where I want to hit. And that's another thing about Dragon Ball 2 is I remember reading an interview in Nintendo Power of all things, talking about Dragon Ball Z Sagas, which was a video game that released. But it was, and I'm so sorry, I'm blanking on his name, the voice actor that plays Vegeta and Piccolo in the
Chris Sabat.
In the dub. Chris Sabat, yeah. Thank you. Talking about how Dragon Ball was different because I mean, you know, you have these guys who are huge, they're out of their minds, but it's not power that's given to them like through like magical abilities or these sorts of things. These are things that they trained and worked for and earned. And that's always stuck with me a little bit because there's not a lot of other shows that I've seen within the anime series that do that. I think My Hero is kind of the only one that I can think off the top of my head that is like to that level. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that is not true, but it's just I love that mindset of they worked for these things and it's just yeah. You know, what's funny is we walked into this, we're like 20, 30 minutes, I'm sure we can cover it, and then we just almost 50 or almost an hour now, right? So we're gonna wrap it up there. Obviously much love to Toriyama's family and everyone there, and just like I think we just kind of want to wrap it up and say thank you very much, Akira Toriyama, for giving us as a whole something so special that was such a huge part of so many people's lives. This has been Shared Screens. If you like Dragon Ball, hit the like, comment. Tell us your favorite things about Dragon Ball or Toriyama's work in the comments. Hit us up on Twitter. We're on all of those places. I don't feel like much talking about this. It feels weird to be like, R.I.P. Toriyama. Come follow us, please. So I'll kill that. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you again real soon.